Hello, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining this ReferKent Relay Week session with Citizens Advice, Kent Money Advice Hub. We have Helen Beckerson from Citizens Advice Northwest Kent with us this morning, who's going to present. If you have questions as we're going along, then please feel free to drop them in the chat. Otherwise, there'll be an opportunity to join at the end online live and ask questions. But while Helen's presenting, as I said, I'll be grateful if you could just keep your camera off and mic on mute so we don't get any interference. Thank you. So over to Helen. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mark. I'm just going to make sure I've got the right screen going for me. Right, lovely. So yeah, thank you very much for inviting me to speak this morning. Yeah, as Mark said, my name's Helen. I'm from Citizens Advice in North and West Kent, and I'm here to talk about the Kent Advice Hub today. Just to start off with a little bit of background about us. So the project was initially launched back at the beginning of 2023 as the Kent Money Advice Hub. And really the project was born out of the cost of living crisis. And it was created by Citizens Advice across Kent in partnership with KCC and particularly the financial hardship team and the digital team as a pilot to look at how we could help Kent residents who were struggling financially to be able to access debt and money advice more easily. As we know, many people in Kent continue to face significant financial challenges because of high costs of living and other issues. And it really hasn't just been the poorest and the most vulnerable people in our communities. It's also people on low and middle incomes too. The emphasis of the project has been on looking at how we can provide alternative ways to access advice and really looking at how we can encourage people to access advice and particularly money advice at an earlier stage, so before people reach crisis point. And in doing so, focusing on how we could use alternative digital methods to increase accessibility. So we've looked over the pilot period, testing a variety of different access routes, platforms, different methods of contact. And really what we found was that video calls were a really positive addition to the existing advice services that we have as Citizens Advice. So where we are now, the pilot period came to an end at the end of March 24, and we're delighted that KCC have been able to support us for another year as we look at how to roll out the service further across the county and to be able to make ourselves more sustainable going forward. In doing so, we have made a few changes along the way, as you would expect from a pilot. We have dropped money from our name, so we are now the Kent Advice Hub. We have the focus is still very much on supporting people that are struggling financially, but we know that this presents in all sorts of different ways, and we want to make sure that we don't put people off from contacting us just because they may not think that the issue that they initially want to talk to us about is a money issue. We provide free, confidential, independent and impartial advice service, as always. And the Kent Advice Hub is very much running alongside other local Citizens Advice services. We have video advice with fully trained advisors, Monday to Friday, 9 AM till 5 PM. And access to the advice is via our video call, either from home via our website, which is the kentmoneyadvicehub.com. We are looking at also obviously changing and adding to that name to be the Kent Advice Hub in time, and also through our video advice kiosks that are in public spaces, and I'll tell you a bit more about those in a minute. There's no need to book an appointment. It's a drop-in service. You join a video call and an advisor will be with you as soon as they can. The next slide here is just to show a fairly basic map showing you where our advice kiosk locations are at the moment. We have 35 kiosks so far across Kent, with more coming through all the time. we have funding from UKPN for our kiosk hardware, so we are looking to try to expand that network across the county and make sure that we are reaching as many communities as we can, whilst also continuing to fundraise to ensure that we've got the advice capacity to maintain that good service as the number of kiosks grow. So kind of our service in numbers so far, we have provided just over 1,752 advice sessions of video advice sessions have been completed so far, with just under 1,700 clients supported. We've helped people with over 4,800 issues, and that really is an indication of the fact that people are coming to us with multiple different issues, complex cases, and that's really where it comes down to, where links into what I was saying at the beginning about really how we're trying to support people with any issue they're facing, but also to come to us as early as they can to access advice before things get to crisis point. We've helped over 700 people with their debts, both through supporting people in that initial conversation with us on the Kent Advice Hub, and also linking people into specialist debt support from going forward from there, both within Citizens Advice and other local debt agencies, and also national debt support services where that's more appropriate. And through our advice, we've achieved over £200,000 in additional income. That's mainly through helping people to access additional benefits that they were entitled to and that they weren't claiming, so maximising people's income, and accessing support grants such as the Household Support Fund. And as I said, we have 35 advice kiosks across Kent. So, as I said earlier, there are two key areas of emphasis of how the Kent Advice Hub has developed. Firstly, a focus on video advice running alongside the existing Citizens Advice services, and also in creating a network of community kiosks across the county. So, why video advice? Well, our aim is to make it as easy as possible for people to access advice in a way that they feel comfortable with. So we know that telephone advice works really well for an awful lot of people, but also face-to-face advice is also highly valued. Being able to see the person you're talking to and can make it easier and more comfortable to talk to somebody. It can aid trust and reassure people who are feeling anxious. So it can really make all the difference in enabling someone who wouldn't usually seek support to take that first step to getting help. Video calls are a great way for to be able to have the benefits of face-to-face advice without having to travel. And also utilising technology can make it easier for us with our limited resources to be able to have highly skilled advisors available to talk just when they're needed. Alongside video at home, where members of the public can contact us on their own smartphone, tablet or computer, is our network of community advice kiosks. Community kiosks are a key part of the Kent Advice Hub, and our hosts kindly provide community space for video advice to take place. Placing kiosks in community spaces where local people already go cuts out the need for people to travel and can help them to feel safe to access the advice, surrounded by people they trust and in familiar surroundings. Kiosk is a fancy word for a really quite simple piece of kit. They're standard tablets in a secure metal frame set to kiosk mode, so they can only be used to access the Kent Advice Hub. But this means that they're easy to use, and they're also cost effective for us to purchase, to set up and to maintain. And this is all going to help us to ensure that the project is sustainable going forward. We have a wide variety of host locations, including community centres, food banks, churches and council offices. We found that the best locations are where people are already going. So whilst there's no need to man the kiosk exactly, they're easy to use and just takes a couple of steps to press buttons to get started on those conversations. It can really help to have someone around that can give a little bit of encouragement or practical help to get started if people are feeling a bit anxious. As an example, we found that kiosks can be a really great resource in, say, a community centre or a food bank, for example. So places where where people are already going, staff and volunteers are already running activities. And what we found is, and I'm sure this is a situation that would be familiar to many of you, that when you're where you're running those activities, people will often share things that they're facing with you. They will mention the problems that they're facing. They will want to talk to you, and it can be really quite hard for the member of staff or volunteers. They might not have the time to be able to sit down and talk to somebody, or they might not feel that they've got the skills to be able to help them in the way they'd like. So having an advice kiosk can be fantastic, because rather than giving them a leaflet and saying, oh, go and speak to Citizens Advice, or making a referral on ReferKent, it can be, you can merge the conversation through there and then. So it can be really great to just be able to say, hey, we've got an advice kiosk, why don't I take you over into this quiet corner, make sure that you're set up okay and that you're feeling happy to have that conversation, and then I'll leave you to it. And then you know that that person is speaking to Citizens Advice, is linked into that advice service, and we have found that the outcomes for people in those situations is great, because often they are people that wouldn't come forward by themselves to talk to us. Sorry, there we go. Oh, hang on, have I gone wrong? Sorry, bit of a slip here. Right, sorry about that. Right. So what can clients expect when they call us? All video calls are answered by fully trained Citizens Advice advisors. They will support people with any problem that they're facing, as I say, and it might be that we're not always the best people to talk to about a particular issue, in which case we will make sure that they're linked in with those other services, and that they have the knowledge and confidence to have those conversations with others. So, for example, with local authority. Advisors will ask callers about their situation, and they'll take the time to explore what the problems that they're facing and give them advice that's specific to them. So it might be advice on claiming benefits, dealing with debts, relationships, housing, all sorts of different things. And often it isn't just the issue that the person has come through to talk to us about. We can identify other things that are relevant to them as part of that conversation. The advisor will take the client as far as they can during that first call. We find that up to about 45 minutes, this is as far as anybody can manage in any one conversation. At that point, you tend to, most people have stopped being able to concentrate and taken in what we're talking about. So really, at that point, we would be looking to make sure that people understand what those next steps are for them that they need to take. And if more advice is needed, then we link them into their local Citizens Advice, or any other support services that are available that are most appropriate to the issues they're facing. What do our clients think? Well, sometimes there's no doubt that sometimes people do need a bit of encouragement to give the Kent Advice Hub a try, to give the video advice a try. It's unfamiliar, and people may feel a bit anxious about the technology or what advisor's going to say. However, we found that once they get going, feedback about video advice has been universally positive. And there's a couple of quotes there. I won't read out. You can see those. And finally, really just wanted to talk about ways that hopefully we can work together. We have a lot of leaflets, we have a lot of digital resources about the Kent Advice Hub. We would love some help in raising awareness of the Kent Advice Hub as a service, and we can share those resources, directing people through to our website, where the location of our kiosks is, and also direct access to video advice via our website, and also to think about whether you would like to host an advice kiosk. So we're open to anywhere that you feel would work in the community. Kiosks can be fixed to the wall or to furniture, or they can be mobile with a Kensington lock, and you can put it away in a cupboard when you're not using it. The only essential really is to have a good internet connection, preferably Wi-Fi, but we can also provide mobile data SIM if that's better. Ideally somewhere where people can be made to feel welcome and comfortable to have a private conversation. So that doesn't mean that it has to be a completely separate room. It might just be a quiet corner, or kind of, it depends on the location, and we're happy to talk that through with anybody. And whilst the service is open Monday to Friday 9 till 5, the kiosks can be open whenever it's convenient for your space. So it doesn't have to be those full opening hours. It can be at times where you have people around that are able to welcome and support people potentially if they need it, or just times that fit in around other uses of your space. And that is it really. So thank you ever so much for giving me your time to tell you about the Kent Advice Hub. And if anyone has any questions or things that they'd like to talk about, or contributions to how we're developing the service, then we'd be great to hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you again, everyone, for joining this morning, and thank you to Helen particularly for presenting this morning's webinar. And I wish you all a good day. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you, guys. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.